Once again, the UFC and MMA fans are completely hating on the UFC and Dana White right now because, of course, if you didn't know, there is a class action lawsuit going on right now, and the UFC might end up making some changes to their contracts. And I have an unpopular opinion to give you, to be honest with you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it afterwards down below. We're going to talk about this in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about the UFC lawsuit. So, very long story short, like I said, there's a class action lawsuit going on, and it's been big drama in the MMA community. But here are some changes that may take place, and it's important to note as of right now, these may take place. Do I think it's going to happen? I actually don't know. I really don't know, but still. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. There's going to be four changes. There's going to be 1-year UFC contracts, maximum pay for fighters, fighter benefits, and best fighters will fight the best fighters. This is really tough, and I have an unpopular take about it because the 1-year UFC contracts, I'll just start with them all, okay? So the 1-year UFC contracts, I hate. I really don't like that. It's tough because all these fighters are constantly looking for a new way to get out of their contracts, but then they come here and they sign the 10-fight deals or whatever, and then it doesn't matter if other fighters, like, if they're unhappy with their contract or they get more star power and want more money, like, at the end of the day, they sign a contract, but you can't go with just 1-year UFC contracts because then the UFC won't have any fighters. People will leave all of the time for better opportunities. You know what I mean? And it's not to say that I don't want any fighters to have any opportunities. It's just like you're going to have all of these changes in the sport. Look what happened to Sean O'Malley. Just knocked out Aljamain Sterling. You have a brand new champion, okay? His star power is bigger than ever. What if that was his 1 year? Now his 1 year's up. Maybe he'll have one defense through that. He's going to leave? That would hurt the UFC so much. Like, what do you want the UFC to do otherwise? Like, this 1-year contract thing doesn't work. They should have the fight deals like they have right now, man. It won't work. Fighters constantly in and out of the UFC. It will damage the belt. And let's say, like, okay, Charles Oliveira. Let's take him for example, okay? Finally beats Islam Makhachev. Bang, gone. Gone. No matter who wins after that. He's not going to have beaten Islam Makhachev. He's not going to have been Charles Oliveira. That's just an example. This will happen all of the time. And you have all these top contenders. Maybe you have a guy like Max Holloway who just destroyed the entire featherweight division. He's gone. Okay, well, they want to beat Holloway. That conversation will always take place. 1-year contracts would constantly destroy the rankings and have fighters in places in the rankings that they really don't deserve. But let's talk about the other one, okay? Maximum pay for UFC fighters. I don't even know what this means. I made a whole long video talking about my honest opinion on UFC fighter pay. It's on the homepage of the YouTube channel if you feel like checking it out. It was like 20 minutes long or something like that. But man, like, these fighters, they're making enough. I am of that opinion. That's the biggest unpopular opinion there. They should be more grateful for where they are, and I guarantee you, if I was ever fighting in the UFC, I would be grateful to make even like 10K. So I don't even know what that means. Maximum pay for UFC fighters. Like, how do you determine that? I feel like the UFC, like, look at all the people above on top of the sport. They're happy with their UFC contracts. Very few of them are not. Like, take a look at guys like Conor McGregor, guys like Cowboy Cerrone, guys like Charles Oliveira. They're happy with their UFC contracts because they're being paid fair. They bring so much attention to the sport. Sean O'Malley, look how happy he is with his UFC contract. I really respect those guys. And the people complaining about not getting their maximum pay, they're just not doing enough. They're the boring fighters. They're the guys who just came into the UFC. They could be, or they don't put any butts in seats. Anybody. And it's not difficult to gather attention to if you want to make more money. It's not difficult. Have a platform. Do something. Trash talk. You know? Do something to get more attention. You will get more money. You will be worth more. Put some butts in seats, win some fights, and stop sitting out and complaining. So I don't even understand what maximum pay is. But one thing I do agree is fighter benefits. I think that should take place. I think that's very self-explanatory. I don't believe it should necessarily be on the fighters to take care of their own damages after the sport. So I don't have too much to add to that. I just think fighter benefits should definitely be a thing. I don't know to what extent they already have. Or if anything, I'm not entirely sure, but no matter what, if some guy's injured, definitely from the UFC fight, they should 100% be taken care of. Like, that is without question in my opinion. But let's talk about the last thing. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this one. So the best fighters will always fight the best fighters because you constantly see people getting different opportunities, right? You constantly see somebody completely outside of the rankings that the UFC wants to push, and then they rob the opportunity for someone ranked to fight someone a little bit higher. I understand this completely, and I really don't know what's right, so I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. It's tough because sometimes, like, these guys bring... The UFC's a business, man. The UFC is business before a sport, and that's what that they need to make money to keep this thing going. So if they have a guy like a Darren Till outside of the rankings, it would make sense for them to push him, you know? But I understand on the other side of the coin, and this is why I particularly really love watching One Championship, is because they constantly have the best fighters fighting the best fighters, and then you have like someone like me, a super fan, very satisfied with everything going on. Like, it would be great to watch Alexander Volkanovski fight the number one contender instead of like fighting just a little bit down the rankings. It would be great for Max Holloway to take on like maybe another fight with Brian Ortega instead of fighting down the rankings against Chan Sung Jung. The best fighters aren't necessarily always fighting the best fighters. They're constantly like having fights outside the rankings. Like, it's so tough because, again, like I said, I think I'm more of the opinion of, okay, push whoever you want, UFC, put on the fights, put on the most exciting fights, but it's also a sport with some rankings, and the best fighters should be constantly fighting the best fighters. Guys are on the same rankings should be fighting each other. You know what I mean? So that one's really tough, and I really don't have an opinion on it either. I definitely don't have a strong opinion on it, so I'd love to know what you guys think down below. But these changes will be very interesting if they take place, and of course, I have mixed feelings on them in general. But I'd love to, this is where I'll give it up to you. I'd love to know what you guys think down below. Let me know what you think about one-year UFC contracts, maximum pay for fighters, fighter benefits, and the best fighters fighting the best fighters. Let me know what you think down below about all of that. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. On the screen right now, you'll have 2 videos from the Clenbat channel if you'd like to continue watching. I will see you either there or in the next video, guys. Take care.